Here the double straddle is on again. I look down at ace, king, king, queen, single suited under the gun. I limp. There's another middle position limper over to the button who makes it 150. Small blind makes the call. Big blind folds over to the straddler who also calls over to me. So the limp under the gun re-raise move is typically something I only do with aces. Don't have that here obviously, but having the next best thing, I just decided to go with it and re-raise to 8-10. Folds over to the button who doesn't look too happy about it, but he just kind of has a look of, there's too much money in the pot, so I just have to go with it. And he re-pushes over to the small blind who calls for less. The straddler looks like he wants to call, but he painfully folds, and I call for my remaining chip. So we're going 3 ways, all in to a run out. Flop comes ace 8-4 rainbow. Turn brings a king of spades, bringing in the backdoor flush draw. River brings a pretty bad card and the queen of clubs, obviously now bringing in jack 10. And I turn over my hand against the button who I'm on the side pot with, and he doesn't look too happy and mucks his hand. And the small blind is trying to look for something that beats me, but he ends up mucking as well. The button ended up telling me later on that he had 10-8, 7-6 double suited, and I'm not really sure what the small blind had, but definitely happy to take down a pretty nice pot here. I look down at ace 3-2 double suited in middle position in a straddled pot. There's one early position limp. I make it 50. We get 2 callers behind. Back to the small blind. He makes it 145. Then back to me. I've never played with the guy before here in the small blind, so don't have any information to go off of. But obviously double suited aces. The 3-2 side cards aren't that great, but double suited aces are double suited aces. So I go ahead and put in the raise to 585. One of the players folds. There's a short stack. He decides to push for about 300. Other player folds back to the small blind and he makes the call. He's got about 600 total behind. So we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes king 8-6 rainbow. Small blind pushes for his remaining 615. And I don't think I have much of a decision here. I call and we're going 3 ways to a run out. Turn brings a pretty bad card in the 9. It is a 9 of clubs though, so it does give me the backdoor flush draw. River brings a deuce, so no help to me. My opponent turns over his hand. He has king, queen, jack 9 double suited. So he got there on the turn, and unfortunately I couldn't improve, so he's going to take it down. So Josh and I are going to be in Chicago at the beginning of January 5th and 6th. We're going to be at the Mission Hills Country Club, which is in Northbrook. It's a little bit north of Center City, Chicago, hosted by Rockford Charity Games. So a portion of all the proceeds go to charity, which is always great. We're going to be playing PLO, of course, but we're also going to be playing a PLO Big O mix. This is actually the same game that we ran at the Hustler Meetup game back in September. Everyone really seemed to enjoy it. So if you're in or around the area at that time, definitely stop by and have some fun with us. Any questions, of course, comment or message me on Instagram and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Till I look down at ace, king, queen, jack, single suited in middle position. So early position limps for $20. Next player makes it 50. Player to my right calls, and then I make it 220. Folds back to the under the gun limper who calls, and the other 2 players call. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes king 9-3 rainbow, checks to the player to my right who bets 800 over to me. I ended up thinking for a while, but ultimately I just thought that with the SPR less than 1, I kind of just had to go with it. So I ended up pushing for less, and back to the under the gun limper, he ended up pushing for less as well, and the other player folds. So we're going 3 ways to a run out. So while the dealer was kind of getting the pot right, I asked the player to my right if he had queen jack 10, because that's just the hand I put him on after thinking for a while, and he told me yes. So that's good news there. I'm not sure what the other player has, but we're going to a run out. Turn brings another 3. River brings a 7. I know you can't see it there because I zoomed in too much. And player to my right doesn't really want to turn over. I turn over my hand, and then the early position player turns over his. He has 9-9-4-4 double suited. So he flopped a set, turned a boat, and I was drawing dead, so he's going to take it down. Here, look down at 9-9-8-2, double suited in middle position in a double board bomb pot. The flops come out ace-6-5 with 2 clubs and 9-8-5 with 2 hearts. Action checks to me, and while I don't have a great hand here on either board, I definitely have a big enough piece to want to continue, so I bet 45, kind of a blocker type bet. Next player, he makes it 125. There are 2 callers to me, and I make the call. So we're going 4 ways to 2 turns. Turns bring a 3 on the top and a 5 on the bottom. Checks to me, I bet 500. The original raiser on the flop folds. Next player has about 1150. He puts it all in the middle. Early position player only has a couple hundred left. He also puts it all in the middle. And of course I make the call. So we're going 3 ways to 2 rivers. The rivers come out a 2 of clubs on the top and a 3 of clubs on the bottom. I turn over my hand. The late position player turns over his. He has ace 10, 7, 4. So he flopped and open-ended on both boards, hit the open-ended on the top, and we're going to go ahead and scoop him here. The early position player jokes, says jack high is no good, and he mucks his card. So we're going to take down a pretty nice sized pot here. Here, look down at ace jack 8-7, single suited in early position. I limp. There are 2 limpers behind. Button makes it 30. 2 callers to me, I call, and 2 callers behind. So we're going 6 ways to a flop. Flop comes 9-7-6 with 2 spades. Checks over to me, I check. Checks all the way to the original raiser who bets 180. Folds over to the player to my right who calls, over to me. So I thought about my decision here for a little bit. A couple things of note I was thinking about is this flop shouldn't really hit the original raiser's range that often. 2, this player to my right that just called here, kind of an interesting call. He definitely could have a very similar hand to mine, like combo draw, maybe even like a set. But, there's definitely some hands I can put some pressure on him by potting it here. So that's what I decided to do. The original raiser only has about 600, so he calls. And the player to my right has a little bit over 1200. He puts it all in the middle. And I, of course, make the call. So we're going 3 ways to a run out. Turn looks to be a pretty good card in the ace of hearts, giving us some additional equity. River brings in the backdoor flush in a 5 of hearts, which improves us to a straight. And I turn over my hand, and the original raiser turns over his. He has king, king, 10, 8 with 2 hearts. And player to my right has queen, queen, 10, 8. So unfortunately for me, they both flopped the nut straight, and I couldn't improve. So they're going to both take it down. Just a quick reminder, Josh and I actually play in a virtual meetup game every Monday night. It's 50 cents $1. We play PLO as well as Big O. So if you're interested in getting in the action, definitely reach out to me on here or Instagram, and I can definitely set you up. I'm going to be visiting family for the holidays, so probably not going to have a video out for a couple weeks, but wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday and also a happy new year. And really thank everyone for the support. We just hit 6,000 subscribers last week, which is awesome. So definitely looking forward to seeing a lot of you guys out in Chicago. And of course, if you haven't seen the previous episode, I'll link it up here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.